We still have everybody?
Yep.
Hello?
Oh, great. It was very quiet. It was weird for a group call because of the background noise. We'll just give folks one more minute to get on here.
Remember from the last meeting? The weekend? The one we had over there? Yeah, Saturday night. Yeah, I need to put on January, they're doing the side of the site.
Okay, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. This is April Sather here in Seattle, sunny Seattle, and I'm sitting here with Patty Quick. Hi, everyone. Who you all will recognize from either speaking to on the phone or emailing with about wonders or scheduling these trainings. So what we want to do first is do a quick introduction of everybody. The purpose of this training is to familiarize everybody with the new online data and reporting system. And beyond that, we also want to talk a little bit about what we need to do in the next 21 days or so to make sure that all of talk about how we want to go about testing our old data, and then we'll get into the good stuff, which is how do we enroll youth, run reports and exports, and what are our next steps. And then we'll hop online and do some of this as well. So before we get going and we do some introductions here, are there any questions right off the bat here before we jump into this?
I don't know. How are we supposed to?
And it sounds like we do have a couple folks just hopping on, and we're just getting started. We're going to start with some introductions. I'm just going to kind of go down the list here. And if you guys could say what your name is, where you are located, what your organization is, and what your role is in data entry and reporting. And let's go ahead and start with Dolores.
Oh, hi. I'm from BCSS in Victorville. I'm a bookkeeper.
Okay. Dolores, do you do some of the data entry?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool. How about Denitra? Hopefully I won't slaughter your names. I apologize in advance.
Hello, my name is Nathan Willer. I'm the clinical supervisor in San Bernardino for the Victor Treatment Center residential-based service program.
Okay, great. Welcome. And how about Kanye? Is that right? And if I got your first name wrong, I'm going to do worse on your last name. Chike Nwaki?
Yes, my name is Chike Nwokike. I'm one of the wraparound supervisors at Victor in Victorville.
Okay. Welcome. Kristen Metcalf from Three Rivers.
I'm Kristen Metcalf. I'm the program manager for Three Rivers Wraparound Program. in Kennewick, Washington, and I'm I'm manage or oversee doing this in our program. And I have Kathy Pipes, who is our data entry, and Jenna Slinchar, who does the interviewing.
Oh, great. Welcome. How about Manuel?
Manuel Lua, I'm a supervisor for Victor Community Support Services, San Joaquin County, California. I was going to have my data entry person here. She called out sick, so I'm trying to get a replacement here soon. But I'll be supervising the process anyhow. Okay,
good. The good thing about the data entry is it's pretty similar to Wonders. It's pretty simple and user-friendly. Most of the training is going to focus on the administrative piece, permissions, and then reporting and stuff. But data entry should be pretty easy to convey to anyone who misses. So, Phyllis Dumas. Phyllis, are you with us still? She might be on mute. All right, Phyllis, we'll go ahead and skip you for now and go down to Sarah.
Is that for Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I tried on my computer. It didn't work, so I'm here next to Dolores. So my name is Sarah. I work at the Victor at the Amargosa site and do office support.
Great. Welcome.
Hi there, this is Shannon Dickerson calling in from Seneca Center. We've got 3 other people that are setting up their computers, so we're in the mix of getting connected.
Okay. We'll make sure we have them on before we continue. We'll just keep doing our introductions here. So how about Sarah Smith?
Pardon me?
We have 2 Sarahs, Sarah Lansbury and Sarah Smith. I'm not sure which one just went.
Oh, Sarah Pacheco.
Oh, okay. So the other Sarah, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us where you're sitting, what your role is in the data entry and reporting. Maybe we'll go ahead and skip over that one and head to Shannon Dickerson. Wait,
hi there.
Shannon.
This is Shannon. I'm calling from Seneca. I am the agency coordinator for all of our WRAP programs. And I've got 3 folks with me right now who are just in the process of logging in. And I apologize for interrupting earlier, but they will be joining us shortly.
No problem. And then I also see Trixie, I think is the last person I see on my list here.
Yes, Trixie Hidalgo. I am the Southern Regional Program Analyst for Victor Treatment Centers and Victor Community Support Service. So I'll be responsible for analyzing the data that's coming out of the WrapTrack.
Oh, great. Great. So we've got a wide range of folks on the phone, everyone from data entry to use the data reporting function, and that's great. Apologize, this is actually our very first training, so you guys are our pilot test group here as we try and put this training together, figure out the best way to get folks familiarized and entering their data like they were last year. Anyone I missed that wants to introduce themselves?
Phyllis Dumas is here, but she is not on the phone. She is the wraparound supervisor for Victor Community Support Services.
Great. Welcome, Phyllis. Anybody else? Okay, so as we move forward here, feel free to hit the mute button on your phone, but do pipe up if you have a question. You can either unmute your phone to ask a question, or you can feel free to message in the message chat. You can answer the question that way as well. Hattie will help me keep an eye on that. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and move forward. Sounds like maybe Shannon's folks at Seneca are just getting on here. Shannon, do you want me to go ahead and wait until you can confirm that they're all on, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, we're all in the steps of getting in. I think we've got one person that's sliding over to sit with my computer because it's taking a little while. But we're all in.
Okay, great. All right, so let's go ahead and move ahead. How do you just pipe in if you feel like I'm missing something? All right, so we'll kind of start start with the basic background about the system. This is a little bit updated, and when I say a little, actually it's a lot updated from Wonders. And basically, in order to run what we call WrapTrack, the new system, efficiently and correctly, you really need to have an updated web browser. So that means if you're using Internet Explorer or Firefox, Mozilla, one of those browsers, you're totally fine. You just need to make sure you have an updated version. We have at UW experienced that Google Chrome is probably the best way to go. A couple reasons. One, it's very easy to download. It's quick. It kind of updates itself, I think, and so you don't really have to worry about having the most up-to-date version. So while maybe your organization has some issues with downloading browsers or whatever, you can use Internet Explorer. It's fine. But the best way to go, we think, is to download Google Chrome. If you can't do that, you're probably fine with the other ones as long as they're updated. A couple of emails to add to the safe sender list. Of course, Wrap Eval at UW, that's us. Obviously, we're probably fine there because you've received emails from us in the past. These other two, no reply at wraptms.org or no reply at tmsdemo.org. Sometimes Outlook or whatever your email software is will spit out a no reply as junk, so you just need to be careful of that. Make sure it's on your safe senders list. And besides having an updated browser, it's also beneficial if you have the most up-to-date operating system. And I know there actually is an updated system from Windows 7, and that's what we have here at UW, and it works just fine. We did find, though, that our old Windows computers, not so much. Even if we have a browser, it's very important to have updated Windows system too. So if you have questions about that, if you're worried that your system is not up to date enough, just contact us, and we will see what we can do to work around that. You can see the link down at the bottom will take you right to Google Chrome, so you can download it there if you like. At the end of this presentation, we'll email you this webinar. We're also recording it. If you have someone that needs to watch it later, they can do that. And in addition to that, we will be finishing up our manual too, so hopefully you won't feel like you're being left high and dry after we finish this. Feel free to pipe in with any questions, but we'll just go ahead and jump into introduction to the system. So as you know, WrapTrack does contain the Wi-Fi and the TOM, and in addition to that, we also have the Wraparound Fidelity Index short form, which is called the Wi-Fi Easy. I'm sure a lot of you may have heard of that already. We can talk at the end about, if you're interested in the Wi-Fi Easy, how we can get you a sample of that, etc., if you're interested. But in the short term, we'll just let you know that this is also a part of WrapTrack. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard of the Wraparound Team Monitoring System, which is a kind of a web-based system that we have been building over the last year and a half to help wraparound teams and other team-based services to kind of comprehensively track what's going on in their teams, help them with data collection, management, feedback, talk about the wraparound process, and just help teams basically track what's going on. A little bit more about WrapTrack. These are kind of the components that are in, WrapTMS. We're talking about tracking engagement, documentation, meetings, who's on the team, plans of care, satisfaction, fidelity, etc., outcomes even. So just a little bit about the platform. As we were building WrapTMS, we kind of recognized that this would be a really great opportunity for us to update Wonders. So WrapTMS basically you can kind of picture as like this brand new home that was built. It's very inclusive of all the features you might want. It tracks, or not, it doesn't track, the website tracks, but the home just kind of includes everything. And WrapTrack is kind of like the mother-in-law that has a separate entrance in the basement, and it's got some nice features, but it doesn't include everything like WrapTMS does, such as like the CANs, the CAPIS, all this team tracking stuff. But it is on a similar platform, and it's a similar design. It's a cloud-based system, but it's not quite as advanced as TMS. In the future, WrapTrack users will be able to link their kids into TMS. If TMS is something sites want to do at the local level, they certainly can. And your youth will track over systematically, yeah. And again, we have more information on that if you're interested, but I just kind of want to give you a little bit of background on the platform that the new WrapTrack system is built on. Again, you can always email us if you want more info, but basically if you want to test out the system, you can get a 30-day pass to check that out. All right, so let's go ahead and start talking about WrapTrack. So what I have here is a picture of the login page. And again, you can see TMS here, which is the platform that it's on. When you log in, it actually says WrapTrack underneath this, so it'll make a little more sense. But here is the login page, wraptms.org. Let's talk a little bit about username and passwords. This is going to be a little bit more complex than it was in Wonders because it is HIPAA and FERPA compliant. There are some things we need to do with our passwords to make it HIPAA and FERPA compliant. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. But you can see this forgot password link here. And essentially, if you click this, you put in your username, and then you will get an automated email back with your password. As we go deeper into the presentation here, you'll see where you can actually, users will be able to change their password easily within the system. If you forget it, that's another option, is to just change your password. So a little bit more about the passwords. In order to be HIPAA and FERPA compliant, there has to be at least 6 numbers or letters, so 6 digits in length. It will be, I'm not totally clear on this, but I think Kelly said that the passwords will be changed like every 30 or 60 days.
It's 60 every 60 days.
Every 60 days. If you don't change your password, the system's going to change it for you. So although I know that that's somewhat painful, I hate those kind of systems, but it does make it HIPAA compliant so that we're following all of those regulations. Again, you can always change your password or have it sent to you via email. It does retain a history of your old passwords, and so you can't just keep putting in the same one. That won't work. Like I said, you're provided capability to change your own password. If you try and log in a certain amount of times, and again, I'm not sure what the specific number. I would guess it's like 5 or something. If you try and log in too many times with an invalid login, you'll get blocked. If that happens, just email us. We will link you in with programmers and get that taken care of. Let's see, I think that's about it there. Yeah, passwords are encrypted. So if you have an IRB or if you have regulations, I know some people are a little bit worried about that. Not only do we have this kind of document, we also have a document that really lays out all of our security measures, and we can get that to you if you want. Any questions on passwords, logins? So as we're kind of trying to get people online here, the way the data was mapped over, your old Wonders login and password will be mapped over unless it does not meet those requirements. Is that correct, you think? So some people will be able to log in with their old Wonders passwords. Some people will have to update that in the system. You'll figure out which is, which yours fits. If either you try and log in and you can't get in, you'll have to set it up again or have them send it to you, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit about the permissions of WrapTrack. And as you know, in Wonders, we kind of had these 5 levels, very structured, set up beforehand, nothing we could do to change them, where we had work here as your kind of system administrator. So we set up everybody's account. We had access to your passwords, etc. And then the highest level at the local site would be the level 2, and then we have 3, 4, and 5, as you can see. The good thing about WrapTrack is it's much more flexible, for sure. It's customizable. So you can have all these kind of different levels of administrative access And the big difference here is that with WrapTrack, although we set up your configuration, which is already mapped over from Wonders, the jurisdictional administrator, which is what used to be the level 2 person, can actually set up permissions within the local context. And we will be having a separate administrative manual. If you have questions about this, we'll go over a little bit of it today. We're still kind of, getting used to what that looks like, so you'll see what I mean when we get into the live system. But needless to say, it's pretty cool. So, you could have anyone from a state-level administrator in here looking at reports, and at the same time not give them access to use files, or you could have a data entry person with only access to data entry, etc. A supervisor, just going and looking at TOM scores. Whatever works for you guys is what we can kind of set up here in WrapTrack. So here's just an example. I apologize because I had these little emails blocked off there, Seneca Center, and it didn't come over, but here's kind of what it looks like. So we have our users, login name, what their role is, and what their organization is. And again, these were all mapped over from Wonders, so here's just one example. All right, so when we do get logged in, this is basically what we call the home page. And you can see the WrapTrack here, which is under the Team Monitoring Made Simple logo. So let's just take a quick look up at the top. Here is the person's name that logged in, their organization. Here's where we can actually click to change our password if we wanted to. And this only works if you actually know your password already. You can change it that way. We've got some user settings. You can see this is a dashboard-based system. So as we'll show you when we log in, this is all customizable. If you want to delete this quick links page, you can, or this dashboard, you could. You could make this use records, take up the whole top, or however you want to sort it, you can sort it. You can also create new dashboard tabs, which I think in WrapTrack is not quite as useful as it is in TMS, just because TMS has got so much more information that you might want to sort through, whereas WrapTrack is just kind of your fidelity data and your use records. You can see that the quick links we have here, adding a new youth record, finding a youth record, and then here's our administrative stuff. So setting up your organization, setting up users, and even setting up non-users, which I think in WrapTMS means like a non-team member. Don't know if that's going to be very useful in WrapTrack, but it is there. And then here's our youth records tab. For a lot of sites who are HIPAA and concerned about HIPAA information, they will not contain these names. They'll be IDs. It shows you your total. And then the next thing I want to show you is the menu tab. So basically when you click on menu, it brings down, I'm afraid to touch anything as I keep moving forward. Shows you current date and time, back to the home page, which is kind of what we just covered. Here's where we click to do enroll new youth, or change enrollment settings on a particular youth, change information, etc. Here's your WrapTrack link. This is where we actually enter the data, run reports and exports. And then here's that administrative tab, which the jurisdictional admins will use to kind of set up the permissions across the local site. Again, just like it says, this might not be pertinent to all users, depending on your site. So I've got these kind of these slides to kind of show you just a little bit about what it looks like, but I think the best thing to do at this point might be to log in and take you through some of the data and do an actual enrollment. You can see here how some of the data may have been mapped over. So first, last name, gender, date of birth, Wrap ID, etc. Here's what the data entry pages look like. Adding forms, similar like we did in Wonders. Putting the data in here, very similar. Reports, similar, but I think updated in their look and ease of use. as well as much quicker and correct. Same with the exports. Here's what that looks like. Very similar way in which we select and cut the data, which you'll see. A couple extra added filters here. And then here's the TOM. What do you think? Should we just go live?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me close out of this and open up the website. All right, so what we're going to do is log into an actual site here in Washington. It's got real data, but it's got de-identified information. So here I am at wraptms.org. I log in, and I come to the dashboard page, and I've got my quick links here, my records, and I think what I'll do is move this down and actually, oops, so you can hide it as well. Make this one bigger, which is nice if you've got the full names here. You can kind of see everybody, but as you can see here, no identifying information. No particular reminders here. I don't know how useful this is going to be in WrapTrack.
No, I don't think the reminders tab there is going to be very helpful, but if you were to, at some point, be interested in TMS and use that system, that's a very helpful tab to have access to, because it reminds you when you may need to meet with a family again, or what have you as a facilitator. So that's more probably useful for the WRAP TMS part of this. The other thing, while we're on this page, that I just wanted to point out is, as April mentioned, you can see here for this particular organization, sometimes they just don't even put any identifying information in for name. But if you were to click on like 4 or 5, April, like tab 4 or 5 right there, you can see that you can also just use ID numbers if you prefer not to use names, first and last name. So ID numbers are completely okay as well. And we noticed when this data got mapped over from Wonders that we used the ID numbers for a lot of the kids, but not for everybody. So that's just something to point out.
Yeah. So for example, another issue you might find with your data that's mapped over, if you put it into Wonders, first name last, last name first, first name last, it may have switched over here, and those are the kind of things you're going to want to check on your data mapping. And those kind of things, there's really nothing we could do. You're either going to have to kind of update them yourself, or just be fine with the way they are too. It's totally fine. Okay, so let's go back to our home page. All right, so let's see, what should we do first? Maybe take a look at these, or
maybe I would say find a youth record.
Okay.
So I think if we well, actually you can do it by clicking find a youth.
Yeah, let's go ahead and see what it takes to. I wonder if we should enroll something first, because, well, no, that's fine. We'll go with kids that are already in here. So there's 2 ways we can either add a new record here. This is how we would enroll a youth. One benefit of the new system is that you put this information in, and it all transfers over to the forms instead of having to re-enter everything. Let's go back. That's the best way to go back.
Yeah.
Or we can find a record this way. You can see there's some different search options here.
This is helpful because, for some communities, they want to include just an ID number, like we said. Some it's first name and last name. Some it's first name, last name, and an ID number, all in the same kind of go. So the starts with and contains checkboxes are really helpful. If you are, looking for particular use, but you have their first and last name and you've forgotten their ID number, for example, or vice versa. So, those are great ways to kind of search for certain kids.
All right, so we found our youth. A couple things to note on the first page here. You can see who entered the data, and this is, again, mapped right over from Wonders. It was entered on this date and edited on this date. So if we were to make an edit today, it would show up here, last edited on such and such a date. And if you remember, everything is time-stamped here on the menu. So there's your demographics. It also gives you how long they've been enrolled and who the facilitator is.
Yeah, so the facilitator and primary caregiver and enrollment status that you can see down there, obviously you don't enter that information on this page, on this demo page. It's actually entered from the WIFI forms themselves. So when you enter that there, it'll show up in this location in WrapTrack. So you can see for this particular use that a caregiver's name was not entered. So that's why we don't have that information there. I think another important thing to note about this page would be like another identifying piece of information if you'd like not to include it as date of birth, and you can see there that if that's not something that you want to keep track of or include in here, you can obviously just put zeros throughout, and that's completely fine. However, when you get to things, I'm glad April just clicked on that, it pulls up a calendar whenever you are near a date type of field, and it's really easy to sort of navigate through, and you can like select year that way or month or what have you. So it's a nice look to it. I like the calendar way it looks. So anyway, so that's something there.
Much big upgrade from Wonders.
Yeah.
So once you've enrolled your youth, what you'll find if you have a new youth to enroll after you've finished testing this Wonders data, you can go in, see this green enrollment button right here, hit the enrollment button, and it'll kind of show you, so this is basically the date that the kid was first enrolled, and then at a certain point, and for all the Wonders data, it's basically the next day, it's switched from pending to enrolled. And this is something that you have to do manually, not in this old data, but in any new data that you have. So it actually works a little bit better as kind of a youth repository than with Wonders, because you know, you could put a kid in here, they may stay pending, or they may actually be enrolled at a certain point in which you could add that date, discharge date, etc.
Yeah, and it's a little bit fancier than what Wonders used to be able to do, because you could, in Wonders, if I recall correctly, you could go ahead and change their information to discharge and put a discharge date in there. I don't think a lot of people use that function, but this might be something that you would find more helpful to use in WrapTrack, especially, again, if you are interested in moving forward with TMS, because that would be a great way to kind of track how many days or, you know, what have you, of youth and family are in services. So anyway.
Another nice little bonus, reason for discharge. Feel free as you're navigating the system, if you come across like this and you think, oh, well, another reason for being discharged, etc., we should add such and such to this list. Please feel free to give us that feedback as well. And this is also where you can link your youth to an organization, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I cancel that because this is real data. I do not want to edit it. However, we'll go into one where the organization was linked to the youth. So if you've got subsites, like for example, Seneca Center, I know you've got like 15 subsites. When you enroll your youth and you switch them over from pending to enrolled, you will select their organization.
So that makes sense overall. I mean, it's a couple extra steps, but I think it's kind of a little bit clearer in a way than Wonders was. Does anybody have questions about how you would enroll a youth and get that process started?
No questions.
Okay.
I really like how you can search by their last name and not just the ID.
Yeah,
That's
that
very
was a big
helpful for us.
Yeah, for Wonders. So, okay, so that's your basic demographic piece, and again, that's going to cross over across all the forms. Let's take a look at this wrap. Okay, so the tabs here I think are a little bit weird in WrapTrack, because if this was TMS, it would have, you know, like enter the team members, enter the family members, enter team meetings, blah, blah, blah. It would be like this big long list of tabs. In WrapTrack, all we have that's kind of familiar across the three forms is this have you been in school, kind of like some of the demographics off the facilitator form. So have you been in school, yes or no, why, and what grade would you be in? So that's kind of the final tab you want to fill out here as far as demographic information goes. I think it's kind of laid out a little bit weird because the format is really meant for TMS, but we kind of adapted it for this. So after you've finished enrolling your youth, go up to, and this is, again, this is the youth record, the youth tab. And everything in TMS and WrapTrack is basically called an assessment. So whether it's a fidelity form like the TOM or the WIFI, or whether it's the CAPAS, or if it's a Medicaid, billing code thing, or it's whatever, it's called an assessment. And so here is where this will be familiar to you, kind of like it was in Wonders. You go to the assessments page and you basically pull down whatever form it is that you're going to fill out. Now, one thing, that we have customized, and we will customize in the future for sites, is whether or not they have access to WIFI, TOM, or WIFI Easy. And in this case, this site only has access to the WIFI, as you can see. If you had access to all three forms would pop up here. But in this case, it's just a WIFI.
Yeah, because this site does not use the TOM. But if they did, that would be an option listed in this form. Yeah.
I kind of want to, let me go to our fake so we can enter some data.
Okay.
I have some saved in here. Let me try this. I've got another user here. You might recognize him. Friend of mine. Okay, there we go. So this is kind of a fake data, configuration that we set up for demonstrating the data entry piece. So let's go ahead and go to, so you can see this user would be more like a supervisory, or I can't remember what it's called, a lower level access person.
Program admin.
Program or team member or supervisor. It just depends on what you have set up. But you can see here they only have the option of the home page, enrollment, or WrapTrack. They don't actually have that administrative tab. Let's go ahead and just add a Angus record real quick. And I'm actually, these are pick lists, but you can hit the letter and it will recognize. A couple of things as you're entering these ID numbers. Similar to Wonders, this case ID is really up to you guys. Perhaps this is something outside of a Medicaid ID. Maybe it's a county ID, etc. It's up to you to use that. Wrap ID, now this is our old standard youth and family ID that you see on all the forms. So this is what I would call the actual key ID that you want to input here. It will not let you use something that's already been used within your site. So let's kind of put this fake kid in here. All right. And you note it does say if you don't put your name in there, it will fill in the ID for you. Go ahead and save that. Then it says you've saved. Would you like to fill in the rest of the details? Yes or no? Let's go ahead and do that. And this brings us back to the use page. Here's that key ID there. It's highlighted in blue. Again, it's showing as pending, so let's go ahead and change that to enrolled. That's today. And here are the pre-listed organizations. So it'll already be specific to your local site. And there we go. Oh, yeah, we're going to do an assessment. Sorry. All right, let's add, here we go. Here's all the forms. Let's just add a youth form for privacy here. All right, Oprah Smith. So this stuff is not in here. We didn't fill that in the...
Exactly. This is where you would fill in that caregiver and facilitator information that would show up on that youth homepage, essentially. So that's where you're going to put that information, and then when we go back, you'll note that it's there. You'll see that. But you can tell that the youth name transferred over and some other stuff.
A lot of this you'll recognize just right off the form. It's just like it was in Wonders because it's exactly the same as the form. And you're welcome to hit save. You don't have to. It will ask you to save at the end. Similar to Wonders, you can either pick and select or just hit the number and tab. Showing us a little warning here, which is not really relevant because we have not entered end time yet. Interesting. All right, we'll quickly get through this data entry. One other thing that is different than Wonders is it will let you move ahead without actually answering something. We're working on that, but for the meantime, if you're a supervisor, you might want to double check or have someone double check your work and make sure everything was filled out. All right, we'll save that. So you can see the time limit here that they've set, which is interesting. All right, saved successfully. Now we can go ahead and close this out. Then you can see the form listed here that we've added. So basically the same deal with any of the assessments that you want to add. What else about assessments?
Just that also to point out that you can see that edit and delete function. So yeah, if you did go back and need to change something or typed in an error, that would be easy to go back and hit edit. Now, I think April was saying that as we talk about what kind of permissions each access level you guys want to have specific to your organization, you can determine who has the ability to delete forms and edit forms, similar to what Wonders offered as well. So we can, talk about that specifically.
Yeah, I mean, the way we set it up in Wonders is that only the level 2 person would be able to edit or delete a form. And if that's something you want to stick with, then whoever is the jurisdictional administrator of your local site will have to set up those permissions for you. And if you need help doing that, we can certainly help you through that. And we can even show you how to do it today. But okay, so any questions on the data entry piece?
Hi, I have a question. This is Trixie from Victor. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Okay, yes. My question is this. With the wraparound program, we have multiple sites. We have one in Stockton, Victorville, and Barstow. Is this database able to separate sites and run data like the reports that you briefly showed us per site and also combine data as an aggregate? How would we be able to delineate that? As far as what I've seen in the data entry, there wasn't a specific data point where you can click on Stockton or Victorville or Barstow. Could that be included?
When you enroll your youth, did I miss that?
No, yes.
When you enroll your youth and you make either an edit or if you change it from pending to enrolled, that's where you link each youth to their organization. As far as reporting goes, correctly, we can't link configurations. So for example, the Massachusetts configuration can't link with a separate provider configuration. I'm not sure. I know Victor and San Bernardino have this issue of double data entry, and is that kind of the question you're asking?
Yes, well, you answered one part as far as when we're doing the data entry of a client, we can determine what site they're coming from. But the second part of it, you're saying that when we run reports, we can't link all of them into one report, like aggregate?
If they're in the same configuration, you can.
So when you say configuration, that means?
So I know that Victor has their own configuration. San Bernardino has their own configuration. They can't link the two. If you have a kid, or if you have an organization that both sites need to see that data, then I believe it needs to be double entered, once in each site.
No,
or one configuration.
I think Chrissy is talking about when she's running reports. Will she be able to run a report that says VCSS Stockton and get information for the Stockton site, then run a report that says VCSS Barstow?
If that's all within the Victor configuration.
Umbrella, it will be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, we'll take you through that right now, actually. Let's run some reports.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll leave Brad Pitt's login, and we'll go back to the Washington site. And they've got multiple sites. So to run reports, we just go up to the menu button, go to the WrapTrack tab, hit Fidelity Reports. It means we'll all be Wi-Fi, because that's the only permissions they have.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's different here is that we pick the report first before we pick the qualifiers. Yeah. So let's go ahead and look at, let's look at 7. And here's where we choose our qualifiers. So here's our user. So in Victorville, maybe Trudy will have all the youth under her, or maybe she wants to look at different organizations. And it sounds like you'll want to do organizations.
So this is exactly where you would be able to see that information pop up. So if you had that access all under that one configuration of Victorville and there were multiple subsites there, this is where you would be able to choose, okay, great, yeah, I want to look at these 3 or this one only or what have you when you look at your report. So that would be where you would do that.
Does that make sense?
Yes, so then in the actual data entry portion of it, there's an actual data point that says organizational name, and then there should be like a drop down that says Stockton, Victorville, or Barstow, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was when we did the youth enrollment. We can
okay.
go back.
Yeah, let's go back.
Yeah.
Actually, let's go. If you hit work with all, it'll give you a list of everybody. And since they don't have names, go to like 4. This kid. So under the enrollment tab, and if you edit, here's where you will. This is where your sites would show up.
Oh, okay, great, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Good, no problem. Good question. Let's go back to running the report really quick. So as you can see, the reports are actually pretty similar. We have condensed them a little bit. We've combined some of them. But basically, you've got your summary of respondents, demographics. The school information is in a separate report now. Custody is in a separate report. Team membership and rep process, same kind of thing as last time. Services support, same thing. We've combined this fidelity report so that when you go in, let's go what we're going to do before here. This is the same as Wonders. You could select by date, or you could just select by assessment. You'll notice a bonus feature which says keep qualification. And what that means is if I'm going to, let's say I'm going to run 5 reports with the same qualifiers, I'm just going to click that. It'll keep the qualifiers so I don't have to keep doing it over and over. Hit continue. here's our report. So you can see how we've combined these. Here's our overall fidelity, combined fidelity by principal, with respondent, or by phase. So you can kind of easily click around here to get all your fidelity scores. And the breakout is very similar to Wonders. Number of kids assessed, how many interviews were completed, by which respondent, scores, range, and then here's your graph. Do note that this usually comes out on multiple pages. I actually prefer to export these when I look at them anyway. So we've got this nice export where now you can export to a PDF, an Excel file, or a Word file, whatever works better for you. And because this is a live, kind of, I guess I'd call it a live platform. I'm sure there's a more technical term. But let's say if Patty was then entering data on here, and she saved those changes, and then I hit refresh, this data will refresh live. So it's kind of nice. So let me show you what it looks like when we export. I'll just go ahead and export it to a Word file. And in Chrome, you'll notice it kind of spits it out here at the bottom. We'll go ahead and open that up. Just send that over back here. And here's our Word version of the report. So what we used to call a business in Wonders is now called a configuration. It shows us what report we have, what data we're showing, more than one organization mean value for all assessments, which is also an upgrade from Wonders, when the report was run, or if there was a date range, it would show it here. So the reports themselves, a little bit of an upgrade in the graph, nothing too fancy still, but. So that's the reporting feature. Anything else you want to see here while we're in reports?
This is what will happen when you clicked on the Keep Qualifications checkbox that April was mentioning. That'll just pop up, and every time you're going to the next thing, you just say, yep, if that's the qualifications that you wanted to continue throughout looking at the report. Which I think a lot of times, you know, if you're looking for a chunk of time, you might want to look at every single report, all 10, with the same qualifications. So.
And here's the PDF of report 1.
Yeah, looking at them, you know, either PDF or Word or whatever is much easier than just on the screen as well. And then you can like take these to meetings or what have you, whatever you need to do with them.
All right, other than that, you should be familiar with the reports that are in here because they're all in Wonders. Again, here's one more that we combined, the Strengths and Areas for Improvement report. You can see up here you just select strength, weakness. It's not how we like it to be phrased, but facilitator, caregiver, youth team member. All right, easy enough. Any questions on reporting? Pretty straightforward, just like Wonders. Okay, so then I'll run through the data export one time as well. Again, very similar to Wonders, a little bit more, I would say a little easier to use because if you wanted to search for a kid, you could and pull those guys right, pull the kid right up off of here instead of looking at a whole list. First, choose your form, look at caregiver forms, how many kids you want to look at, and then it'll give you your list here of all your kids.
And then if you see that little top part to this section, it says select all or select none. If you select all, it'll just go ahead and highlight all of those youth, and then you'll be able to look at export for every single person.
And then the last filter here at the bottom. This was a little confusing to me always, but this section and then this section on the right. So the section on the left, do you want to look at numbers, text, or both? That'll split it into 2 separate columns for each. What kind of format? CSV, Excel, or comma separated. and scope. So all of it, first, last, quarter, month.
I think if you select specific dates.
Oh, then you put it in.
Yeah, then you put it in there.
Okay. We'll go select all. Oops.
I think you have to select specific dates in the drop-down. Click on the drop-down and go to the box. Yeah.
Ah, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, so you have to select that option, and then those grid boxes will open up, and you can enter specific dates as well.
There we go. And the final feature to show you would be that you can actually remove identifying information from the Excel if you like. We'll just leave that blank because there's actually none in here. But I believe it would remove name, birth date. I don't think gender. Anyway.
And if we have Social Security, but we don't, so
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Yep. So again, you can see this kind of preview within the screen. This is a little bit different than Wonders. It pops out into a new window. And you can see the labeling of variables is a little different as well. And this will all be included in the data manual, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Let's go and let's.
Yeah.
You also have the option to email this report. And so, here we go. Send that. Now what happened to my app?
Yes, you have to wait to hit it again.
Disappeared. So after I emailed it, it kind of disappears again. If I want to preview output again, I just hit that again. Yeah, let's go ahead and save it. Take a look at it.
And then you can see it. If you've chosen Excel, you can just see it in Excel.
There we go. So here's your raw data. I do like this output a little better than Wonders. I think it's a little more clear.
Yeah. And yeah, like what April was saying, you can see that that if you can scroll over to the right again, April, sorry. The like this section here, like the phases are just like one initial. So implementation is I. The question is Q, number 5, and then you can see it versus the numeric response or the text response, and we chose both for the purpose of this demonstration, but if you want to just look at it numerically or vice versa, that's easy enough. You know, the transition phase starts with a T, you know, it's that kind of thing. So it does look a little bit Wonders, but yeah, fairly self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's nice if you're going to do any analysis on your own to kind of know what the values represent. There's your export function. It'll work the same with Tom or Wimpy Easy. I think that's it for reporting, export, enrollment.
Yeah.
And then this last piece is the administrative piece. Go back to the, make sure. Yeah, so maybe before we talk about the administrative piece. So the last thing we definitely want to make sure that you walk away from this training with is what, you know, so before we start entering new youth into the system, what we really want to make sure that you do is you take a look at the kids that are in there, make sure they're yours, which we have already done extensive testing on the data mapping, but no one knows your kids like you do, so go in, make sure the kids are correct, that they've got the correct forms, that checking of the data, make sure everything looks okay, nothing is standing out, nothing is glaring. And once you feel comfortable with that, then go ahead and start entering new data. But we only have about, actually, and I think it's March 10th, to let the programmers know if there's been any data mapping errors. So we really want to encourage you guys to get in there, take a look at your old data, make sure everything looks okay before you kind of start going full steam ahead. So that is the big walk away. Some things to think about, again, while you're testing, are the names and IDs lining up, etc. Each kid has the correct forms that you think should be in there. If you want to go back and look at Wonders, you'll see this is where it's located right now.
And it really is just for the purposes of double-checking this information that April's mentioning. Yeah, I wouldn't trust any other thing in there like the reports or anything like that, so you don't want to necessarily look at that section. But just if you want to go in and you know you're looking at specific use ID and you want to kind of just spot check for these particular things, that's where you can go ahead and do that.
And again, your old login and passwords will work for that. Couple of things to think about. If for some reason one of your kids did not have a demographic form filled out for the WIFI or the TOM, their data will not have been mapped over. So if you're kind of comparing numbers before you kind of freak out, like maybe you say you've got 25 and you think you've got 26, double check that everyone had a demographic. That could be an issue. Like we said, Wonders was hanging on by a thread, as a lot of you know, and if you're going to be comparing score to score, just be careful because Wonders very well might not be correct. And the last thing is, because it's a permission-based system, and as not everyone on the phone here is the jurisdictional administrator, you may try and log in, and you may have success logging in, and you're in, and you're like not being able to have access to certain tools or certain functions. First thing you want to do is check with your jurisdictional admin to see if they've given you the proper permissions. And then if that's all squared away, just feel free to contact us and we'll see what's going on with that. But because it's permissions driven, you guys at the local level pretty much have control over what you have access to. Again, we have until March 10th. Let's go ahead and talk about how they're going to give us feedback.
Yeah, do you have the Excel file?
I do. So basically what we've created is this kind of Excel feedback file. And this will basically kind of give us a systematic way to look at any issues that are going on in the system instead of having everyone, have to email us separately and trying to explain things that are going on. Can everyone see the sheet okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see basically it requires you to explain where you're at in the system, and these are 3 examples that we included here. Who the person is, who you are, where you're located, what your organization is, what your login and password is, so that we can get in and recreate. One issue with you guys we actually don't have access to your password anymore. So we can't, look it up and try and recreate the issue. You guys have to supply that for us. There's 3 issues that might come up for you as you're testing. One, if you have a great idea about something that would really improve the system, but it's really clearly something new. Like in this example, wouldn't it be great if someone hit a 2 on one of these questions, 2.5 and 3.3, that you would have to be required to input that? That's one example. If you can think of other great ideas that would improve the system, but it's kind of clearly a new development, please include those. We love the feedback. If you run into something that's more like a bug, for example, I hit the export button and it's got this error message, I don't know what's going on. There's clearly just some kind of bug happening and we need to know about that. Or it could be an edit. So let's see, I'm going through the forms and I see question 4.3 on the WIFI form says pancake instead of wraparound. Then we need to change that to wraparound, and that's great feedback as well. So those are the kinds of things we're looking to get reports on. And if you can grab a screenshot if you're having an issue of the error and you can represent that error in a picture form, it's even better. You can see in this example, I don't even think it's relevant, but this is an old one that we had. The data was not mapping over correctly, and so we circled this and said, this should be wrap ID instead, and then they fixed it.
Yeah, and the screenshots, if you're able to include them, are extremely helpful for the programmers to be able to go back and mimic it or even just know automatically where it is. They're so good at knowing that information when they can see it visually. So anytime you can include it, that'd be great. And you can always, just like April did, just squish it right down to a manageable size for the document. And then they push it over and look at it, expand it, and all of that. So don't worry about that. Include as much information and detail as possible, and they'll kind of sort through it. So
then you just email it to us, rapeval@uw.edu. Any questions on feedback? So again, that gives us about about 3 weeks to really get in and take a look at your data that's been mapped over. All right. So really the final thing that we need to cover, and I'm really not sure how to go about this because it would be ideal if the jurisdictional admins could be trained first, but that's just too complicated. So I guess moving forward, what we need to know is that if you're someone at a site that's not the jurisdictional admin, and let's say, like I think maybe Trudy or Trixie was a data entry person, and Trixie has to go talk to, actually I don't think that's right, but I know there's a couple data entry folks, yeah, like Doris, or if you need to go to whoever the supervisor is of the evaluation or whoever that person might be and say, hey, I went through the training, you need to log in and set up permissions for our whole organization. Eventually, hopefully everyone will get that training, but at this point it's so early in the game that I'm not quite sure how to do that administrative training, to be honest, except for just to say that that person does need to log in and set up permissions for their site. Most of the permissions are already set up generically. Is there anyone on the call who is a jurisdictional admin? Used to be the level 2 in Wonders, so kind of the person that headed up the data entry and reporting, that wants me to go through that right now?
No, that's okay.
It's been so thrilling up to thus far that we could just make the jurisdictional admin sit through that.
Thank you.
All right, so then are there any other questions?
I have a question. Sorry. So one of the admin personnel, they are going to set us up in order to use this program?
Yeah, so I think your first step after this would be to go to wraptms.org and try and log in with your Wonders password.
yeah, absolutely. And if you don't get in, that's when we need to do further steps to update your password, or that jurisdictional admin person will need to go in there and do that for you, or our programmers. Either way, we'll make sure that you're going to be able to get in with an appropriate HIPAA, FERPA compliance, password and log in.
Dolores, is that you that asked that question?
Yeah. Yes, I was, Ms. Phyllis.
Oh, and actually, our site was never in Wonders. This is Phyllis with the Victorville, BCSS Victorville. Our actual site was never in Wonders.
Well, are they the new sub-site?
Maybe, yeah. Well, I know that Victor CSS had a
right.
login and username and that kind of thing. Yeah, and I see that Manuel might have stepped off the training here, but we were kind of having some conversations about that, and I think our next step is to add that Victorville sub-site under the Victor CSS, or I think it is in there now. But yeah, we might need to get you guys logged into that.
Yeah, we'll actually need to add our Barstow site also.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did it, but so our next step for you guys would be to email us, and we'll just set up a quick call and get that taken care of. Or you can email us exactly what needs to be in there. I'm not sure who the jurisdictional admin is of Victorville, or
it might be
Manuel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, and that's the thing. We'll need to have someone at our actual site. So can there be more than one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. You can have as many users as you like.
Be able to control our site.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So what Manuel will do is log in, and he can either update you, because I think the organization, I think you guys are already, the sites are already in there.
Yeah.
And what we need to do is add the user.
For some challenges with it.
Say that again?
He had told us there were some challenges with adding us on, so that has been rectified.
Yeah, well, the main issue around that conversation that we had, I don't know, a month or two ago was around the double data entry and the connection with San Bernardino and some of that. But in terms of those two sites being under CSS, we can certainly have that set up in WrapTrack. And like April was saying, that those are technically already there, and we just have to get you guys logins and passwords for that.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, shouldn't be a problem. Any other questions? All right, so next step, log in. If it doesn't work, shoot us an email. We'll get you an appropriate login and password. You'll be on your way, and you can go and test out your Wonders data.
And just to let everybody know who's on the call still, I had been the person that sent out the link to the webinar today, and what I'll do is the specific people that I sent that link to, I think they forwarded it to everyone else who's participating today, but I'll send that information out again so that you can have this recording if you'd like to go back and reference it, the PowerPoint, this testing sheet that April and I were talking about will be there as well in that email.